Listen to me right now. There's a reason you're here. There's a reason these words are hitting your eyes and echoing inside your mind, and it's not by accident, because deep inside you there's a part of you that knows you've been holding back. You've been living with this quiet, relentless fear of failing, and I'm here to tell you that fear is the very thing that's been holding you prisoner, and the paradox, the great, beautiful paradox of life is that failure isn't your enemy. Failure is your ally. Failure is your gift. Failure is the greatest teacher, the greatest fuel, the greatest sculptor of who you are destined to become. Most people spend their entire lives running away from failure. They avoid it like it's fire, they play small, they shrink themselves down to fit inside the box of safe. They say, I'll take the secure job, I won't risk that relationship, I won't speak up, I won't try because if I try, I might fall flat on my face. And so what happens? They stop living, they stop growing, and what is life without growth? Death. Slow, invisible death. I want you to feel this. Think about the most powerful moments in your life. Think about the moments when you were tested, when you were pushed, when you thought you couldn't take another step, but you did. That's where you became more. That's where the fire inside you got hotter, stronger, brighter. That's where you stopped being who you were and started becoming who you are meant to be, and every one of those moments was wrapped in failure. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the foundation of success. It is the soil that success grows from. If you are trying to build the life you were meant to live, but you're afraid of failing, you're like a farmer afraid of getting his hands dirty. You can't plant anything in clean, untouched soil. You've got to dig, you've got to sweat. You've got to risk ruining your shoes because that's where life is. When people come to me, and I've worked with presidents, I've worked with athletes, I've worked with CEO, I've worked with people who had nothing left in their bank account and nothing left in their spirit, they come to me and say, Tony, I don't want to fail. And I look them dead in the eye and I say, then you don't want to succeed because the only path to success runs straight through the valley of failure. I want you to imagine something right now. Imagine a baby learning to walk. That baby takes a step, wobbles, falls, gets up again, falls again, over and over and over. Do we look at that baby and say, what a failure, maybe walking just isn't for you? Of course not, we celebrate. We clap, we cheer. Why? Because we know that falling down is the price of standing tall. And yet somewhere along the way, as adults, we forget. We think falling means we're broken. No, falling means you're alive. Falling means you're moving. You should fail. You must fail, because failure is feedback. Failure is life whispering in your ear. Not this way, not yet. Try again, learn, adjust, grow. Every time you fail, you are getting data. You are getting stronger, you are being sharpened like steel and fire. Look at history, look at every great inventor, every leader, every revolutionary. Thomas Edison, thousands of experiments that failed before the light bulb. Imagine if he quit at the 999th try. He didn't fail 1,000 times, he succeeded in discovering 1,000 ways that didn't work. Michael Jordan missed more shots than most players ever took, lost hundreds of games. And yet he became the greatest because he understood that failure is not falling short. Failure is refusing to keep shooting. I've had failures, I've had businesses collapse. I've stood on stages and bombed. I've trusted people who betrayed me, and every single one of those failures carved me. Every single one of those failures gave me the muscle to stand here today and pour into you. Without my failures, I'd have no voice. Without my failures, I'd have no story. Without my failures, I would not be Tony Robbins. So why should you fail? Because failing means you're trying something beyond your comfort zone. Failing means you're reaching higher than the average person. Failing means you're in the arena. And if you're in the arena, bloodied, sweaty, exhausted, you're already alive at a level most people will never experience. I want you to get this in your soul. The greatest tragedy in life is not failing. The greatest tragedy is never even daring to fail. The greatest tragedy is living a small life when you were destined for a great one. Some of you right now, you're at a crossroads. You've been hesitating. Maybe it's starting that business. Maybe it's going back to school. Maybe it's leaving the job that drains you. Maybe it's telling the person you love how you really feel, and you've been waiting for certainty. You've been waiting for the guarantee. Let me tell you, certainty is a lie. There is no guarantee. The only guarantee is that if you stay still, nothing changes. If you move, if you risk, if you dare, you might fail. But in that failure you grow, and in that growth you win. People think the pain of failure is unbearable, but let me tell you something. The pain of failure is nothing compared to the pain of regret. Failure stings, regret kills, failure is temporary, regret is permanent, and when you get to the end of your life, you will not remember the times you fell. You will remember the times you didn't even step forward. Don't let that be your story. So here's the truth. You should fail often, fail fast, fail forward, because failure is not the end of the road. It's the beginning of the next chapter. Every failure carries the seed of an equal or greater gift. But only if you're willing to look. Only if you're willing to feel the pain, to extract the lesson, to keep moving. Life is not about avoiding failure. Life is about building yourself so big, so strong, so resilient that failure cannot destroy you. It can only shape you, and when you live that way, when you stop running from failure and start embracing it, that's when you become unstoppable. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to think right now of something you've been avoiding because you're afraid to fail. Got it? Hold it in your mind, see it, feel it. Now I want you to imagine yourself going for it. Imagine yourself failing. Imagine the embarrassment, the rejection, the pain, and then imagine yourself getting back up. Imagine the lessons, imagine the strength, imagine the pride of knowing you went for it. Feel that, that's life, that's living. Do you want a safe life, or do you want a full life? Do you want to survive? Or do you want to truly live? Because those who truly live, they fail, they bleed, they stumble, they rise. And at the end they look back with no regret. So here's my invitation to you. Stop avoiding failure. Run toward it, seek it, chase the experiences that scare you. Try, stumble, learn, rise, repeat. Because on the other side of your greatest failures lie your greatest breakthroughs. This is why you should fail. Because when you fail, you discover who you really are. Because when you fail, you unlock the part of you that cannot be broken. Because when you fail, you stop living for approval and start living for truth. Because when you fail, you finally start succeeding, and isn't that what you were born for? Let me tell you something. We live in a world that worships success. Social media shows you the highlight reel. Everyone's smiling, everyone's perfect, everyone's crushing it. But what they don't show you are the nights of doubt, the tears, the moments on the bathroom floor when they didn't know if they could keep going. You don't see the deals that collapsed. You don't see the manuscripts that got rejected. You don't see the heartbreaks, the sleepless nights, the credit cards maxed out. You don't see the failures because people hide them. But I'm telling you, that's the gold, that's the truth, that's the part of the story that matters. Because if all you see is the win, you think the win came easy. You think there's something wrong with you when you struggle. But if you see the failures, if you embrace them, you realize you're not broken, you're on the path. Think about Oprah Winfrey, fired from her first job as a TV anchor. They told her she was unfit for television. Imagine if she had believed that. Imagine if she had let that failure define her. We wouldn't have Oprah. We wouldn't have the billions of lives she's touched. Her failure was her foundation. Think about Steve Jobs. He built Apple, then he got fired from Apple. Fired from the company he created. Do you know what that feels like? To be rejected by your own creation. He called it devastating, but he said it was the best thing that ever happened to him, because failure gave him freedom. It made him creative again, and years later he came back stronger, sharper, and changed the world. Think about J.K. Rowling, a single mom, no money, rejected by 12 publishers. 12 times they told her no. They said her story wasn't worth printing. Imagine if she stopped at rejection number 12. There would be no Harry Potter. There would be no billion-dollar book series. She would have lived a small life hiding from failure. But instead she leaned into it. Every failure is a fork in the road. One path says, stop here, it's too painful, protect yourself, play small. The other path says, keep going, learn, grow, use this as fuel. Which path will you choose? And let's make this personal, because this isn't about Oprah. This isn't about Jobs. This isn't about Rowling. This is about you. What is the failure that shaped you? What is the moment you thought you couldn't go on, but you did? Think about it, feel it. That failure gave you strength. That failure gave you wisdom. That failure gave you empathy. That failure gave you fire. Here's what I want you to hear. Failure is the admission price of a meaningful life. You don't get to love without risking heartbreak. You don't get to create without risking rejection. You don't get to lead without risking criticism. You don't get to live without risking failure. That's the deal. That's the contract, and the people who try to avoid that price, they live half lives. Now let's break down what failure actually gives you. Number one, it gives you humility. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you hungry. When you fail, you realize you don't know it all. You realize there's more to learn. You realize you need others, and humility is not weakness. Humility is strength, because humility keeps you growing. Number two, failure gives you creativity. When one door slams shut, when your plan collapses, you're forced to innovate. You're forced to think differently. You're forced to ask, what else could this mean? What else could I do? What's another way? And in that question, in that creativity, you find solutions you never would have discovered if everything went perfectly. Number 3, failure gives you resilience. You fall, you rise, you fall again. You rise again, and each time you become harder to break, until one day you realize nothing can stop you because you've been broken before and you've come back stronger. That's resilience, and resilience is the ultimate superpower. Number 4, failure gives you clarity. Sometimes failure reveals what you didn't want in the first place. Sometimes failure saves you from a path that wasn't right for you. You lose the job and you discover your real calling. You lose the relationship and you find your real self. Failure strips away the illusion and leaves you with truth. And number 5, failure gives you gratitude. When you've tasted the bitterness of failure, success is sweeter. When you've walked through the valley, the mountaintop is more beautiful. Failure teaches you to appreciate every victory, no matter how small. Now, here's the secret. Most people think failure is final. It's not. Failure is feedback. Say it with me. Failure is feedback. It's data. It's not a verdict. It's not a death sentence. It's simply information. It's life showing you what works and what doesn't. And if you use that feedback, if you apply it, if you pivot, you cannot be stopped. I'll give you a metaphor. Imagine you're driving from New York to Los Angeles. You get lost in Ohio. Do you park your car and say, that's it, I failed, I'm stuck in Ohio forever? Of course not. You recalibrate your GPS. You adjust your route. You keep driving. That's life. Failure is just Ohio. You're still going to Los Angeles unless you quit. Unless you stop driving. The only way you truly fail is by quitting. The only way you truly fail is by never starting. Everything else is feedback. I've met people who told me, Tony, I failed at my marriage, I failed at my business, I failed as a parent. And I look at them and I say, no, you didn't fail, you learned. The only failure is staying stuck in that story. Because failure is an event, not an identity. Failure is something that happened. It is not who you are. Who you are is infinite. Who you are is powerful. Who you are is the one who can rise again and again and again. I want you to hear me now. I don't care how many times you've fallen. I don't care how many times you've been told no. I don't care how many times you've been rejected, abandoned, overlooked, underestimated. You are still here. You are breathing. And as long as you are breathing, you have another shot. You have another chance to rise. You have another chance to rewrite your story. So here's what I want you to do right now. I want you to reframe your relationship with failure. From this day forward, failure is not your enemy. Failure is your coach. Failure is your mentor. Failure is your partner in growth. Failure is life's way of making you ready for what's next. And if you can truly embrace that, if you can truly love failure, then nothing can stop you. Because when you love failure, you stop fearing it. And when you stop fearing it, you're free to try, free to risk, free to dream bigger than ever before. So go out there and fail beautifully, fail boldly, fail loudly, fail proudly, and then stand up, dust yourself off, smile and say thank you. I needed that. Now watch me rise.